I don't know if you guys are aware, but CNN has a ton of problems, and we have to go into it because it's so ridiculous that it's just worthy of talking about. But the most recent thing that came out was that Chris Cuomo basically outed an affair that the head of CNN, Jeff Zucker, was having with a former Andrew Cuomo staffer, and this has led to crazy fallout and all kinds of nonsensical things. But we're going to have to go to our sponsor and we'll talk about it on the other side. Collagen powders are very popular among fitness influencers, and there's a reason for that. These people know that although collagen is one of the most abundant proteins in your body, when you start to run out of it, when you start to produce less of it, your skin starts breaking down. You start seeing those visible signs of aging. And I've started taking collagen in my morning inside my coffee to make sure that my skin gets itty bitty baby soft. And the collagen that I take, I get over at healthwithjustice.com. If you get over on this website, you will be able to get 51% off. It's pretty simple, pretty basic. A scoop a day keeps your skin itty bitty baby soft, just like mine. Don't you wish you had the softest skin in the world, like I literally softest skin in the world do have? Healthwithjustice.com. Now, it's hard to really get into where this story actually begins because there are so many different facets that involve New York State government, not just the governor's office, but the attorney general's office, CNN on the hosting and on the back end side, and honestly, it's hard for me to start. But I'm going to tell you why I haven't really been covering this and why I haven't really been going in on Andrew Cuomo lately, because I understand that what is going on with the Cuomos is essentially a change in power from within the Democratic Party, and I don't want to signal boost attacks and a power grab that will ultimately lead to a worse governor than Andrew Cuomo taking power in my state. You see, the Attorney General of New York, the woman that ran for Attorney General based on the idea that she was going to prosecute Donald Trump, by the way, incredibly questionable when somebody says they're going to run on looking for a crime against somebody and then utilizing that to basically boost up themselves politically, but that's what happened in our state, also was targeting somebody known as Andrew Cuomo. And of course, we're talking about Attorney General Letitia James. Now, for those of you who are unaware, for those of you who don't know, district attorneys are people that typically want to be mayors, and attorney generals are typically people that want to be governors. This is standard practice. If you look at the lineage of your mayor or of your governor, typically you'll find attorney general positions or DA positions in their background. That's just a thing that happens. So you need to understand that typically you run for certain offices because you're ambitious and you want to gain the next office. So during the course of her time as Attorney General, she started an investigation into the sexual harassment allegations against Andrew Cuomo. Now, notably, Cuomo should have been under investigation for his nursing home policy, and not even specifically the putting the elderly people in the nursing homes, despite the fact that that was a horrific decision, but in the fact that he was trying to cover up that decision and the consequences of that, because the cover-up is often worse than the crime. We talked about on multiple different occasions on this channel how early on in the pandemic, even though it seems now retroactively incredibly easy to say you don't put COVID people in nursing homes, we were worried about hospital capacity and all sorts of other problems, and because there was some capacity to treat in nursing homes, you could have made the argument that it made sense to do so. Now, other governors saw the error of the ways, but the reason why we have 50 states, 50 laboratories of innovation, is because people can actually engage in different policies and we can see what works out better. Now, unfortunately, the media was signal boosting Andrew Cuomo throughout the course of the early pandemic, so other people copied his bad policies word for word and participated in similar style cover-ups. Unfortunately, though, the Attorney General wasn't really interested in investigating Cuomo for that. What she was interested in investigating him for was for the sexual harassment thing, because the Democrats can never admit that they were wrong about any aspect of their COVID response.
Trevor, you call yourself a Cuomo-sexual, and I agree with you. I feel like I'm a Cuomo-sexual too.
Yeah, I think it genuinely has been very inspiring and refreshing to see a leader like Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, who's come out and engaged his briefings in a non-political way. He's engaged them as a leader. He's engaged them as a human being. He's also taken blame for things where he says, look, I understand that I'm doing certain things that people are going to hate me for, and I'm willing to make these decisions because I think it's the best thing for human life first. We can always create business afterwards. I think he's been informative. I think he's been informed. And like, once I saw people online falling in love with him, there's a group of women who came out and they said, we're falling in love with Cuomo. And I said, well, yeah, everyone should be a Cuomo-sexual in that way. Like, you should love a leader who engages the people and remembers that they're serving the people as opposed to, the people working for them. So any leader who's doing that in a crisis, I applaud them.
Because that would involve them acknowledging that their blind rage at President Trump caused them to elevate Cuomo and his policies, which hurt a lot of elderly people and killed a lot of elderly people, to national prominence and gave them national praise. Now, during the course of this investigation into Andrew Cuomo, which, by the way, Letitia James is still prosecuting, she decided to release information on the communications between Andrew and his brother Chris to show that Chris Cuomo was actually advising Andrew through these sexual harassment allegations as basically a way to take out Cuomo's media arm, aka his brother, over at CNN. And CNN, of course, complied, and they got rid of Chris Cuomo, and they said the reason they got rid of him is because of improper coordination with his brother, a politician, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, here's the thing. If we were talking about journalism in the context of like an integrity class or a journalism class, and the topic of integrity came up, and somebody brought up a cable TV news host that was also the brother of a governor and a very politically connected family in New York, you would obviously, if asked, say that it is not in line with the integrity of the news and the media and journalists for you to be coordinating with your brother who is in the governor's mansion. Obviously, you should separate that, and the network should take steps to separate these individuals. But CNN was very proudly promoting and profiting off of the relationship between Chris and Andrew. They did segments together. I've done mix-ups where I added in comedic laugh tracks of these segments because of how ridiculous they are. So for CNN to fire Chris Cuomo for coordinating with Andrew Cuomo when basically he had his brother on every single night, obvious coordination, obvious working together without any complaints from CNN, doesn't make any sense. But the thing is, Andrew Cuomo being governor and the Cuomos being a politically relevant family is the only reason that Chris Cuomo was relevant in the media. You don't hire somebody like Chris Cuomo if not for his connections to power. And as soon as those connections to power were gone, it was only a matter of time before Chris Cuomo got the axe. So I don't believe CNN and their phony integrity push and how they shouldn't have been coordinating when they were coordinating on air every night and CNN was raking in the money based on that. The whole media was coordinating with Andrew Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo was the focal point of that, and his show got bigger ratings and all kinds of things as people churned to hear Andrew Cuomo, this guy being puffed up by all the media every single night. And what show did he go on? The one with his brother.
Thank you for coming back to the show. Mom told me I had to. Governor Andrew Cuomo, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
I love you. I'm proud of what you're doing. I know you're working hard for your state, but no matter how hard you're working, there's always time to call Mom. She wants to hear from you. Just so you know.
Yeah, I called Mom just before I came on the show. By the way, she said I was her favorite.
She never said
Good news is she said you were her second favorite. Second favorite son. Better than me.
Only on the basketball court.
Never, don't
That's
lie.
what Pop said. That's what Pop said.
Never. He did not. He did
what he
not.
said.
You never beat me once.
The country should
not
know.
once.
He said
You're
Andrew
all
has
tall.
tremendous
All show, no
capability.
doubt.
He is blessed in many ways, but he's got hands like bananas and he can't play ball. Everybody knows it. Just saying.
Put the money
You're
on
doing
the
a great
table,
job.
and I'll take you out and spank you.
Last night, I was doing what I do for my family, which is make my mother's sauce. She taught me how to make the sauce, which is something that is very coveted. And she said, I can only teach he, not she, he who will carry it on best. And you will see the B-roll of me cooking. My mother called me and said, is Andrew there? I said, no, Mom, I'm all alone here out on the island with my family. And she said, where is he? And I said, he's up in Albany in the house with the big gates and the attack dog. And she said, oh, that's too bad. And I said, it's okay, Mom. I love him and I'll make sauce for him too. And she started to cry and then I said goodbye. With all of this adulation that you're getting for doing your job, are you thinking about running for president? Tell the audience.
No.
No, you won't answer?
No, I answered. The answer is no.
No, you're not thinking about it?
Sometimes it's one word. I said no.
Have
No.
you thought about it?
No.
Are you open to thinking about it?
No.
Might you think about it at some point?
No.
How can you know what you might think about at some point right now?
Because I know what I might think about and what I won't think about. But you're a great interviewer, by the way.
Appreciate it. Learn from the best.
Yes,
Where am I?
are you?
I'm in the process of making a point.
Where
Is
you
where
are.
I am. I'm in my basement.
But where are you physically?
I'm in my
you're
basement.
in your basement.
That's what I just said. Yeah, that's where I am.
Oh, you're in your basement. I see. Well, you spend a lot of time there, right? Christina says she sends you there a lot. So kitchen and basement, that's where you spend your life. Okay.
Here's what I'm trying to say.
This is the normal swab I'm holding up here now for everybody at home. A very valuable object. There's only one company in the entire country that makes these up in Maine. All right, here's the swab. Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you, and that at first it went into your nose and disappeared, so that in scale, this was the actual swab that was being used to fit up that double-barrel shotgun that you have mounted on the front of your pretty face?
So based on objective ethical standards about media practices that you would learn about in a journalism and integrity course, I think Chris Cuomo's firing was totally warranted. However, based on the standard that CNN had put forward with Chris and Andrew, I don't believe that they have any ground to stand on in their firing of Chris Cuomo, and I understand why Chris is so angry, because obviously they were paying him for the connection to his brother, for the connection to the Democratic Party, for the connection to the Cuomo brand, and at the same time actively encouraging them to coordinate live on air. Obviously, they talk behind the scenes, but you're making the relationship public on your network and profiting on it. But as soon as Andrew Cuomo's out of power, and thus Chris Cuomo's connection to power is greatly diminished, they find an excuse to get rid of him. But Chris Cuomo isn't going laying down. He isn't going without a fight. He recently, through the lawsuit that he's having with CNN, for those of you who are unaware, Cuomo was owed $18 million by CNN and CNN refused to pay, actually outed that Zucker had a connection to Andrew Cuomo in that he was sleeping with one of Andrew Cuomo's staffers, specifically somebody who works in the realm of PR, aka public relations, aka just when you thought irony couldn't get any more irony, we just got there. Because what Chris Cuomo is actually alleging is that Zucker has no leg to stand on, in that he says that there's inappropriate coordination between Cuomo, the Governor Cuomo, and Chris Cuomo, because that's not allowed, when he was sleeping with the PR person. And this was probably one of the reasons why he was allowing the interviews and all this coordination to go on air on the network. He had an improper, non-disclosed conflict of interest, so how can he deny compensation to Chris when he is guilty of the same thing? And it also has the amazing effect of basically, if Zucker wants any severance or the payout of the rest of his contract, then CNN, the company, will have no leg to stand on, because now Zucker would have to make the same arguments that coordination, that connection doesn't matter, therefore it wouldn't matter for the Cuomo case, therefore Chris Cuomo would get his $18 million. Look, setting aside the illicit affairs, the sexual harassment, the journalistic ethics being completely absent in CNN, and the ethics being totally absent in the Cuomo family, you have to give credit where credit is due to Chris Cuomo, because basically what he did to Zucker was a kamikaze attack. If CNN is going to hold the position that you don't get any compensation for improper harassment, improper affairs, and improper coordination, you're out at CNN, I'm exposing your affair, and guess what? Turns out you have a conflict of interest. You probably were coordinating with the Cuomo administration, the same administration that, according to you, if you coordinate with, you don't get any severance, you don't get the rest of your contract. So essentially what's going to happen, buddy, is either we're both going to get paid together, or we're both going to end up with nothing together. You decide. Again, credit where credit is due. These Democrats, these left-wing people know how to fight. They know how to play dirty. And there's a reason that the Cuomo family was so politically powerful in the state of New York for so many decades. It's because they don't play games when it comes to their money, and they don't play games when it comes to losing influence. They are going to kick and bite and scream and do whatever it takes to claw their way back into power, and it just goes to show you that we have not seen the last of the Cuomos. Also, and if you didn't think that Chris Cuomo was dead serious about smearing everybody's name through the mud in order to get his money, I just want to point out that this was basically an open secret at CNN. Everybody knew about it. Everybody had this bullet in their chamber to fire off against Zucker in case they were in conflict. It's just Chris Cuomo was the first person to use it. A bunch of unnamed sources are saying, yeah, 100%. We all know that they had a relationship. We all know that their relationship started up during the time of COVID. So this case for coordination in terms of the Cuomo administration and CNN, who gave glowing coverage not just on Chris Cuomo's show, but across their network, seems to be just as solid, if not more solid, than the connection between Chris and Andrew coordinating, again, in an unapproved way, because most of the coordination was directly approved by Zucker over at CNN. The Cuomos do not play, and I just think it's amazing that all these figures are going down, especially since they spent years morally grandstanding against the Orange Man when they all have these same secrets, these same issues in their own background. How many people at CNN are going to go down to scandals? How many people at CNN have active overhanging scandals on their name, like Don Lemon? I understand that when you become wealthy, you can become vulnerable to overinflating your sense of ego and thinking you're so important that you could do whatever you want. But this is so true among the people at CNN. It goes from the host all the way to the top, and even in the producers, if you're aware of that one story that I'm not going over specifically, because I don't want to be visited by the demonetization fairy. But hey, those are just my thoughts about the CNN scandal. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, you can show me by leaving a like. You can subscribe for more content. Follow me on all my social media. Support me via the support links in the description box. This has been me talking about CNN's chaos. Till next time.